Hey, welcome everyone. I'm really excited tonight to have Bill Lipner here. I knew him as Bill Lipner like 20 years ago and had no idea he was a cool musician. So I'm wearing these glasses tonight to try to look cool, but he has the cool moniker William Edge. And I came across him a while back and said, "Oh my God, I think I know this guy." And sure enough, it's Bill, the famous Bill Lipner. So, Bill, welcome to the show.
Andrew, thanks for having me on today.
Oh my God. Well, I got to tell you, I knew you were dabbling in music when I was 20 years ago, but I had no idea how far you came and what you did and how much you pursued it. And you have quite a nice collection on SoundCloud. You've got some beautiful album covers that you design. Um, you have this whole persona, William Edge, and a website dedicated to that. I had no idea, so this is quite a treat, and I'm glad to finally catch up with you. So, give me a little background because I know you're in the documentation space with things like I guess it's SharePoint, things like that. I imagine
Yep.
that's how I knew you back years ago. Um, but how did you get into the world of music? It's a whole different thing, obviously. So,
Well, I guess the question is how far back you want me to go. Uh,
well, let's start like when did you first take a piano lesson?
that's an important question.
Yeah.
Uh, my mother had 4 children, and she was pretty determined that each of us should become a professional musician.
Oh,
And at least that was her aspiration. And so my first lessons were at the age of 6. And in order to keep me interested, and those lessons persisted for a number of years, to keep me interested in learning piano, and that was the instrument. At around the age of 11 or 12, I started taking lessons from some of the faculty at Florida State University School of Music. And it wasn't classical to keep me interested. The notion was that I would take lessons from a couple of the jazz guys over there.
oh,
So that really colored a lot of my interest in music.
yeah.
And you hear the no pun intended, some of the jazz tones throughout a lot of the work that I've done.
Right, right. So, how did your mom feel about that?
You know, you take what you can get with a
Yeah.
with a musician. So
So, were you a pretty good student
no, not really.
with your mom? No, that could be tricky. Okay, I'll take off the disguise here. Yeah. So, and then I mean, you obviously pursue this. It's difficult to make a career of just being a musician, and so obviously you do other things too. But to seriously, continuously pursue the musical world, that takes some serious commitment. Tell me, what kinds of things did you do over time? Like after college, were you in a band, or tell us about the history of how you went about doing this.
You know, I had an early interest in technology, and that's a big part of what's happened.
Mm.
So I was interested in personal computers really before there were even such a thing. And
Hmm.
early on, probably in my late 30s, late 20s more accurately, got interested in how computers could help make music. And that really was the beginning of and the focus of my composing work.
Hmm.
And it was also at the very beginning of self-publishing. That was important. I could create music, accumulate enough tracks to put them together on a CD. And there were organizations like CD Baby, probably everyone here has heard of that organization,
Mm. Yeah.
which was one of the first ways you could self-publish music out into the big retail universe.
Hmm.
So technology was a huge interest. And I became really intrigued by combining that with my interest in music and just had the notion that I had to go find the right kind of technology to let me make music. And I've been doing it that way for 22 years now.
Yeah. It is amazing how technology can so leverage the musical world these days. I mean, not like 30, 40 years ago, you'd have to do everything by hand. Now a lot of it's electronically done. You can pull in, you used to have to kind of think about what the instruments would be like and then orchestrate and have actual orchestra members play it. And now you can pull in orchestra sounds. In fact, I have
Yeah.
a friend of mine that not only pulls in any sound you want, but also can put you in any music hall in the world and say, what music hall do you want your performance to be in? And what seat do you want the audience member to be in? And they have the sound signature captured for every single music hall and seat in the world, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
But
that's impressive.
yeah, so let's go through some of your stuff now. The first thing we're going to play is something that's 9 years ago called "Stuck on You," and I'd like to. Is there a little backstory on why you called it that? Is it about a woman you were stuck on, or is it just is it just a play on words, or what's the backstory of that?
You know, interestingly enough, for me, one of the challenges is coming up with a descriptive name for a track.
Yes.
And it's very often completely impulse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one I think refers to my partner in life and my wife. So very much stuck on her. And this track perhaps expresses some of that.
I love it. I love it. Good. So let's play some of this. I'm going to share the screen now, and make sure the sound is on. I've got to make sure I do that. Here we go. So this is oh, wrong screen, sorry. Share the screen.
It's that technology stuff.
Yes, all technology. Here we go. Okay. And this is, and by the way, I ended up became a member of SoundCloud, so the ads won't come up. So hopefully they won't pop up during this, but this is Stuck on You, like some old bubble gum, which I thought is an interesting side note. Now, do you play every part of this, I assume, right? You're doing the organ, the Hammond, the drum kit, and all that, and then some of it's I assume some of it's looped. Is that true?
That's true.
Yeah.
Um, some of these pieces are composed in the smaller parts that you just described. Some of the pieces are produced using what's sometimes called a composer keyboard,
Mm.
which may supply the drum track, for instance, and some of the chord accompaniment. So
Hmm.
uh, this one, I think I assembled all of the bits and pieces in this particular track.
Hmm. Okay. And then your next track, which sounds like it might also be about your wife, is called "You Make Me Feel." What's the story on that one?
Well, I'm often inspired by the people around me, and
Hmm.
I think this title The track title probably describes that quite well.
Yeah. You make me feel so good, it's bad. All right, so here goes. By the way, I have to admit, I'm not that used to how SoundCloud works, but I notice you have people that make um, remarks and they actually put them where they want them. So that, like this guy right here says, "Nice, Fly G," right there. He really likes that right there.
Right.
I think
Right.
that's great that you can actually say, "That's the part I really love," right there. I have to. My part is, I love the ending of this thing. I think you got. There's something about this ending that I really wanted to highlight because I thought you did some fun things with it. It's like a big grand ending. So I'm going to jump ahead to that just
Yes.
to play all of that. Love it. Big production ending. That's great.
Indeed. And this particular piece, the rhythm was syncopated, and
Mm.
that's always a little bit challenging to work with. But
Yes, yeah.
the end result's kind of fun, I think.
So when you studied jazz, who were some of your favorite, songwriters, composers?
Gosh, Ramsey Lewis was kind of an inspiration for me.
Mm.
He was hot when I was a kid. Um, Yusuf Lateef was interesting, and then there were the whole range of kind of guys you've probably all heard of.
Yeah. Well, there used to be a place in Boston called the Jazz Workshop, and I went there
Mm,
one night to see Chick Corea. And
uh,
the club was so small that the patrons used the same bathroom as the performers. So I actually I was in the bathroom at the same time as Chick Corea. It was kind of fun. We're washing our hands together talking to Chick Corea. And I just saw him a few years ago. God bless him, he's gone now. But I saw him at the BSO Theater downtown, I believe is where it was. And he actually he was having the audience he was tuning the audience. He was having the audience do certain notes, and then have them sing off against each other. He was having a lot of fun with us. That was just great. He was a
interesting.
very talented, impressive personality.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, these guys are amazing. It's just and you've captured a lot of the wonderful, intricacies of the jazz feel and the sounds. I love the patches you're using. For example, some of these patches are really
Mm.
nice. for people who don't know, in the synthesizer world or whatever, you create what's called a patch, and then you can sometimes you can design that patch to have a certain kind of sound, or you buy them, or whatever. But
Yeah,
you get these wonderful overtones of different kinds of like especially the Hammond. I used to have a Hammond M3, and you could pull out different stops and get all these different sounds, and you multiply that by 10,000, and that's what you can do electronically today. It's just amazing.
sure.
So now this next one is a little risque. It says "Squeeze my oranges." So and by the way, I love the fact that you have some very cool uh, album covers, and this is one, "Spaces for Parking." And are these mostly, in most cases, you did these yourself? Is that true?
That's true. Um, they may not be the best album covers
Well,
in
some
terms
are
of
pretty
commercial
cool.
market. Thank you for that, Andrew.
I'm not sure what's going on here. Is this like supposed to be a clown and the scariest clown in the corner of the parking lot?
It could be. And the uh, the notion was sort of space for music, but in this case, spaces for parking.
Yeah.
And that was an intriguing pair of shoes that I thought should just be part of the picture. It tells a little bit of the story. This
Hmm.
particular track is indeed "Squeeze My Oranges." Uh, that's how you get orange juice, right?
All right. Well, let's see what this is now. I'm going to jump ahead a bit. I love this part. Fun accents. It's really hypnotic. But is there a sorry? It's hypnotic. Is there a there's a phase thing going on there too, right? Some kind of a phase shift thing.
All an effort to create a certain sort of color in that track.
Yeah, that's a really neat like backdrop track there. That's a lot of fun. How do you go about like thinking about those? Is it more the kind of thing where you're playing around with a little bit and you come up with something and you augment it, or is it based on something else that you've come across, or
You
any
know,
ideas about how do you come up with something like that, you know?
my you know those jazz faculty uh, back when I was a kid taught me. One of them especially taught me improvisation,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been a fantastic tool for me ever since. And so a
Mm.
lot of this um, will start out as just sort of hunting around or just looking for a direction, knocking around on the keyboard, and if something sounds like it should be developed and maybe
Yeah,
might stick, then I found a direction. But
right.
a lot of it's just kind of inspiration of the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Now, this one, Lady by the Bridge,
Yeah,
I should mention to people that we're doing this roughly chronologically. So this is back in 2011 now, 13 years ago.
yeah.
And was there in fact a lady by the bridge, or is that just a had a play on words, or what was the what's the backstory of this one?
So this actually that track title is a reference to the Statue of Liberty,
Ah,
and
okay.
so this particular CD and the tracks on it really were sort of thinking about and reflected some of my experience in New York City. And
Mm,
so there's that sort of, jazzy thing about New York City. The Statue of Liberty is just an important feature of that city,
sure.
that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So that's really what inspired the name. And the name is kind of inspired by how the music sounds to me.
Hmm. And then your album Night Comes Downtown. Is there a story behind how you came up with that name, or uh,
I
it's a great
just
play
like
on words? Yeah.
I just liked the notion of how twilight and then nighttime sort of overtakes a city like New York.
Uh-huh. I love it. Okay, so this is Lady by the Bridge. I wish we could listen to all of this. It's quite fun. I like, especially like the part where you have a very kind of choppy um, background thing going on. And are you using some kind of a short pass filter or something to make it so clipped? You have a really clipped sound in the front and back of that. Is that something that you had to engineer, or was that a patch you found, or how did you get that kind of a sharp cutoff kind of effect?
There's on most of these tracks, there's a bit of post production that these go through,
Ah,
and
okay.
um, a lot of that at that stage is just my ear. How am I enhancing what this should sound like?
Yes, yeah.
I
And
can't
can I ask
remember
you, is there a
specifically.
specific favorite kind of software package that you use for this kind of stuff?
Well, the a lot of this is put together, especially lately. We'll look at some of the more recent tracks
Yeah.
um, with GarageBand, and
Really? Wow.
yeah, it's a tool that I've really explored quite extensively. Um, I love working with it. Pro Tools is another, and a third is Absinthe. I don't know if everyone's heard of that, but it's a great tool for just making sounds, as
Yeah.
you were describing, that you can
I'm
really.
sorry, is that absinthe like the drink or
It is
yeah.
indeed so well named in a lot of ways.
Very, very apt name. Excellent. Okay, good. So this next one is called This Way Out, and this is from your Overgroove CD.
I like that CD a lot. Overgroove.
Yeah. And any backstory on this you want to share before we start it?
Nothing in particular. Overgroove was just a year of knocking out some tracks that I liked and put it together in a CD.
Mm-hmm. Now you have a fan here, Lion Man. Is this Arabic? What is this here? Or no, it looks like a
That may be actually
Vietnamese,
Hindu,
Hindu. Oh, okay.
perhaps.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. You're reaching around the world. I love it. Like an African beat to it, which is just a wonderful. Were some of the drum kit parts African in nature to give you that kind of effect, or did it just happen to come out as being that rhythmically?
You know, there's to me one of the most important parts of this kind of composition is the drum track. And
Mm,
right, can it can add so much to any piece of music, of course.
yeah.
And the kind of compositions that I like to create, I really think a lot about what the drum track sounds like. And
Mm-hmm.
often it will be that I call these auditions. I'll be auditioning different drum track sounds, some of them complete, some of them I've put together, and that will inspire the rest of the piece of music. I'll say,
Right.
oh,
Right.
that's very, for instance, I'm kind of in love with Latin drum track. And that would drive some compositions.
Yeah.
So
Well,
this,
you know,
very,
this is an 8 minute track, and I encourage people to go back to SoundCloud and track down William Edge because there's a lot of great music in here. We're just scraping the surface. How many different clips do you have on SoundCloud? Do you know offhand?
um, gosh, honestly, probably, I don't know, 150.
Yeah, yeah. Very
There,
nice.
if I can do a pitch, they're gathered together in one place, actually, if you want a couple of hours of just listening. If you go to smoothjazzxm.com,
Mm-hmm.
that will direct you to this application, SoundCloud, but
Yeah.
to a particular library. And it's
Oh,
just
excellent. Okay.
a list of a lot of my tracks.
WilliamEdgeXM.com.
Smooth Jazz, XM.
SmoothJazzXM.com. Yeah. Or it's right up here. SmoothJazzXM.com. Yes. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, good. So this next piece is now 2012 from the Crucible CD.
Hmm.
This is called Badlands River. Sounds like there's a great story in there. Anything? Just you just happen to like the name of Badlands, or were you traveling through the Badlands at the time, or saw a movie, or just
No, I was again kind of searching for a way to describe what I thought this track sounded like.
yeah, yeah,
Was in that kind of mood. Badlands River.
right. Well, you got a couple of different sections here too. I'm going to highlight. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. What I love about this track is that you can feel the heat. There's something about the nature of the sounds that you're using. You can almost feel the heat radiating off the sand, and there's parts in it where you have these almost creature-like effects that sound
Mhm.
like, I don't know, the little bugs of the desert, whatever they might be, scorpions or whatever. Definitely got some sound effects in there that once you get that image in your head, it's almost you almost can't get rid of it. It's like it's great. So
Sure.
I don't know how
And
much of that is conscious or how much just kind of is evoked by the nature of what you're trying to convey, or how that actually works physically for you. But it was very effective, I thought.
well, this kind of track, uh, in fact, especially earlier on, my CDs were sometimes intended to tell a story, and this one was a little bit about the sun, as you see on the cover, being the crucible in which we are tested in many ways.
Oh,
So this there was just a lot going on. I think at this particular period of time, 12 years ago, and politically and geopolitically. politically and that sort of thing, that uh, it felt like there were sort of a lot of tests that were being thrown at us. And
Mm-hmm.
this CD, this particular track rather, and many of my tracks get to be kind of long. They are not um, 3 minute airplay
Right,
tracks
right, yes.
necessarily.
Yeah.
They're tracks that are intended to be played in the background that you don't have to listen too hard to.
Mm.
And that's the objective with this one. It might create some interest, but it really should exist kind of in your subconscious while you're doing other things.
Well, by the way, this I think would make a great soundtrack, a backdrop to a movie of, like on
Sure.
Mars or something like that. It's just, some desolate place that's a little bit spooky and scary and at the same time interesting. So now this next thing, and maybe this is the ultimate endpoint of the Crucible. You have the end of the galaxy. I don't know whether you mean the galaxy's ending or you're just getting to the edge of the galaxy, but this is called End of the Galaxy, and this is actually the next year, 2013, from the Sound Chamber CD.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start this one. I happen to like starting it in the middle, about 4:43. So this is any story behind this before I start it?
Only that um, the notion of outer space, but broader in a broader sense, the universe
Mm,
has always intrigued me. And
yeah,
there are several CDs that really try to make you feel things about the universe, its infinite vastness, and
mm,
you know, um, and in fact, so galaxies do come to an end, and we
yeah.
often wonder about what's happening within those galaxies as they begin to contract and become black holes and all of that sort of stuff. So this was just a little bit of that kind of notion.
My dad, who passed away a couple of months ago, um, I remember as a kid, I was very impressionable. I was probably like, I don't know, 8. And he said, imagine if you were in a rocket ship and it just went on forever and you never got to the end of the universe. It just kept going and going and going.
Yep,
And I thought that was pretty amazing. I said, now imagine you get to the edge of the universe. What's beyond it? So,
sure.
and that just, that if I think if people spent more time on this concept, the wonder of existence at all and what we're doing and how, what this is to be even existing, if we spent more time appreciating the pure, incredible, amazing fact, maybe we'd have less trouble in the world. I don't know. But anyway,
Perhaps.
on to the end of Galaxy 10. Just some fun things. I wish we could listen to all of these, but we'll have to move on. So this next one's very different. Stream Mr. Sue. And I especially am impressed with the album cover. Is this one that you did as well?
That is, uh, for instance, the face, which is a mask actually,
Yeah,
is a piece of artwork I borrowed from a very talented artist.
yeah.
And
And
as you see, the
how'd you get the finger thing, or is that part of it?
Uh, that was just some photoshopping work, uh, not
Oh,
not mine, by the way.
okay, yeah. So Blind Man, Beggar Man. And then this is called Mr. Sue. What's the story behind? Is this an early version of a transgender thing, Mr. Sue, or is it Mr. Mystic, or what is that?
It could be. It's a little bit of a blur between genders, which I
Okay.
think is great.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so this is Mr. Sue from Blind Man. I love it. I gotta ask you too. When you sometimes we hear a guitar sound.
Mm.
Not that we heard it here. Is that a real guitar or is that a guitar sound on a keyboard?
It's the latter. It's a guitar sound on a keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the keyboard that I like using the most for some of these instruments is a Yamaha, which just seems to produce remarkable uh, fidelity in terms of different instruments.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Okay, so this next one is from your Secret Diary album. By the way, another great image. Is this also one that you built, or is this from, did you have someone Photoshop this for you or whatever?
That the head in this is something I borrowed, and then I sort of put together the rest of the cover that you see there.
Yeah, it's pretty kind of spooky. I love it. Travelers from the Quantum Highway from Secret Diary. to tell you that this is even better when you wear headphones. So if people want to go back and listen to this with headphones on, I highly recommend it. It's very, some of the stuff is really nice and spacey and really, I'm not sure I can get much work done listening to it, but it's a lot of fun. Okay, this next one is Artificial Intelligence from Smoking, another album. And typically, when you had these CDs or albums, how many songs did you have in a particular one, would you say?
I would try to give about an hour of listening, so
Mm,
sort of 11 to 13 or so tracks typically.
yeah.
And each of these albums is intended to convey sort of its own story. Um, and if you think about a lot of the work I've done in the context of sort of what's happening somewhere in outer space or outer universe, even,
Yeah.
like traveling along the quantum highway, which is a thing we hope to do someday.
Oh, by
Uh,
the way, I want to
yeah,
say you were very prolific in 2013 because you had one, two, three, four albums in 1 year. That's,
published. I don't think they were all written in 1 year, but
oh, okay.
were
Still,
completed.
they were released in 1 year. That's pretty impressive. So this is artificial intelligence. By the way, I want to ask, what systems are you using? Are these all different keyboards or one keyboard with a lot of different patches or how did you get these kinds of sounds?
Gosh, good question. And it probably varies from at least CD to CD.
Yeah.
Um, but this is the melodies are almost always driven from a keyboard. So I am, driving with the keyboard some synthesizer component to get different sounds.
Right.
Probably have laid down the drum track already, but not always. Sometimes that comes afterward.
Yeah.
And so the the keyboard is pushing a variety of different possible pieces of software on this composing computer.
Hmm. So are these patches usually software patches, or are some of them like for example, I had the DX50 for a while. We had to stick a little card in with 50 patches at a time. I'm just wondering what kind of things you used,
You
to run.
know, good question. But almost all this is software patches.
Mm.
And if you look at that tool I mentioned, Absinthe, um, it comes equipped with, I don't know, probably different versions of version 4 and version 5 and what have you, a couple of hundred patches in each, and every
Wow.
one of those can be tweaked. So
Yes. Yeah. Very nice. Okay,
tremendous
so
amount
this
of
is called,
variability.
this sounds very sensitive now. Heart listening. You want to tell us about this one? This is 2018. It's a little more recent.
Yeah, more recent. It was just a mood. It was time to sit down and kind of feel quietly uh, composing something.
Okay. I have to ask you, Bill, do you have this stuff on Pandora, Spotify, any of those?
Uh, a lot of this is available on Spotify. Uh, Pandora, not nearly as much,
Yeah.
and a fair number of the CDs, the explicit CDs, are available in the usual retail places, Apple, for instance.
Nice. Very nice. I'd also like to see if you can get a chance to take some of these and turn them into videos because I think they would be great visual art experiences for people, you know. So um, one of the guys I interviewed, Rich Sokoloff, had one that he turned into a beautiful video and a major um, uh, a major commercial enterprise, you know, liked it so much they used it as their theme song for like 5 years, and he collected some nice royalties on it. So there's some the potential there because this is just beautiful stuff, you know, just very
Andrew, did you promise me that you'd have a couple of music coordinators listening in tonight?
maybe. And actually, my brother was on earlier. He's also loves electronic music. Unfortunately, he left me a note saying, "I got to leave because I'm going to go celebrate the conviction decision tonight." So he's out there partying right now. But I forgave him because I said, "Okay, because I'm this is going to be archived. You can always watch it later." But he really enjoyed listening to you, and he's into the whole electronic music scene. In fact, you know, when you mentioned GarageBand, I know he uses that, so I'm sure he was very
So,
intrigued by that. It resonated with him. So this last piece, I wanted to play this one because every time I was in this site, when I was done playing, it would just drop off to go play Gizmo 6 right here. And I just
yeah,
love this. That was a great piece to end it with. So, um, any backstory on this one and how you built it, or anything you want to add before I play it?
uh, you know, uh, this is one of probably the most recent 4 or 5 tracks that kind of fall in the Gizmo family,
Mm.
and it it just is kind of the most recent sound. Um,
Yeah. So
you
this is
know,
2024. It's this year, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So it's brand new, and
Excellent.
I think it just gives you a flavor of sort of what I've been doing,
Hmm.
which has been very much, in fact, to me, kind of the center of this has been ambient music, but uh, I can't resist those sort of jazz tones mixed in, and
Hmm.
rhythm for me is a big part of this. I
Yeah.
think that the Gizmo tracks, and there are now 3 or 4 of them, kind of reflect the natural next step. And we'll give it a listen, and your folks can
All right.
give me some comments.
This has been great, Bill. I'm looking forward to more of your playing and keeping up with what you're doing over time. And this is the end of our hour. Thank you for sharing with your musical journey. It's been a pleasure to listen to these beautiful sounds, and I encourage people to go out and, in the background, just have this stuff playing. It's just you go on all day. It's just wonderful. Um, Let me just ask, I'll open up the floor if we have a few people that might want to ask some questions,
Sure.
wrap up. So let me just see if anyone out there wants to add anything at this point.
Can I just ask? You mentioned you used GarageBand.
Yes.
Is what other applications do you use?
You know, these days, that's the tool that I use to sort of put together, of course, all of the different patches and tracks and what have you. And it's got some built-in patches that are pretty useful. Uh, Backing that up with Absinthe, this tool that I've mentioned, has been pretty important. And capturing uh, output directly from my keyboard so that that becomes another track in GarageBand. So I may put together a couple of tracks in GarageBand using patches and then play along with the keyboard. And that's also being captured in GarageBand as another track.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the assembly point these days. That's kind of an important tool. Absinthe, you can so to speak, patch right into GarageBand, and that will manipulate the sounds in a particular track as well. So those are probably the two top tools that I've been using these days.
And do you have a human drummer, or is it a machine drummer, a synthesized drummer?
It's all synthesized drumming.
Okay.
Have you used any other musicians at all, or is it all you, pretty much?
It's all me.
Yeah.
I I imagine someday I might be in a jazz trio, but
Hmm.
not yet.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I think we had a great hour. Thank you so much again, Bill. I'm going to archive this to the composerscorner.com, and I will have more people next month that are going to be performing. And we want to encourage people to go to smoothjazzxm.com and also the SoundCloud and just see all the beautiful music that he's written. And keep it up, Bill. I look forward to hearing more of your stuff soon. It's going to appear on SoundCloud, I assume, any day now as you add more onto it, right?
You bet. Thanks, Andrew. It's been fun.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you all. Take care.
Good night.